The Chiefs' next chapter could start with a new weapon at tight end, and I'm going to talk about it. Good morning, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for joining me here on this fine Wednesday morning. It'll just be me today. Mike's still on vacation, but appreciate you guys rolling in. Do your boy a favor, hit the like button. It helps get this out to more people. And before I get the show started, just want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, BetUS, for powering this live stream. Head over to betus.com and check out what they have going on. Right now, if you use the code YouTube150, you get a 150% deposit bonus match on your first deposit. And then on your next two, you get a 125% deposit match bonus. These are up to $2,000, so take advantage of all the free plays you can make with these deposit matches. The site's easy to use, and there's plenty of props on there too. So go to betus.com and use the promo code YouTube150 and let them know that All Chiefed Up sent you. Good to see everybody rolling in this morning. Hope everyone's doing well. It's officially the offseason. Officially the offseason when you got the rumor mill going. All day on X yesterday, people were having a meltdown about a man named Kyle Pitts. We've seen this before, though. This is not the first time. A lot of the offseason last year, people were mentioning this guy. And I think maybe it's because people were kind of seeing what was to come, but we'll see. Brian Parrott, I see that you're not feeling well. Hope you get to feeling better, buddy. But yeah, a couple things just wanted to talk about this morning. Got a little bit of news, I suppose you could say, as much as there is right now, and then a lot of rumors, a lot of talking and stuff like that. But first, I wanted to bring this up. The Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl was watched by a record 182.8 million people on TV and streaming. A record. So a record number of people, 182.8 million people, got to watch the Chiefs put up the effort of my children cleaning their bedroom and getting their asses whooped for not doing so. That's what happened. And that sucks. I think everybody's still kind of fan-wise, we're kind of getting over it, past it, ready for the off-season. I think the players are probably right there too. But people like the Eagles, that team's still just chattering about the Chiefs. Their fans still chattering about the Chiefs. I made a post on X yesterday, and I was like, when the Chiefs won Super Bowl 54, 57, 58, I don't remember Chiefs fans or the Chiefs players just becoming completely obsessed with the team that they beat. I think the most ribbing that actually happened was maybe the Eagles Tears thing by the Chateau, the milk company or whatever. But we didn't really just talk about the other team. They cannot keep the Chiefs' name out of their mouth. It's insane. Especially the C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I think his name is. Pretty irrelevant guy, like a mid to low tier corner, or I'm sorry, safety. He's not a corner. He's not good enough to be a corner. But yeah, he just can't keep their name out of their mouth. He's obsessed. And it's really weird. And I think the reason why it is, and I think the reason why the other fans are trying their best to just really rub the salt in and kind of do the victory lap, is because they know that Mahomes and the Chiefs are inevitable. They know that this isn't over for the Chiefs. So they're a little scared still. So they're trying to be loud. A lot of people, when they're scared, they try to be loud. And they're scared. And you know why they're scared? Because Patrick Mahomes has officially turned the page to the next chapter in this Chiefs story by cutting the freaking mohawk. I mean, check this out. Got a fresh new look. It kind of sucks that people were sneaking pictures of him at his grandfather's funeral. Rest in peace to his grandfather, and prayers to the family. Hope everybody is doing the best they can with that. But that haircut, man, take a look at that. A fresh new cut for Patrick Mahomes. It's weird to look at. It almost seems like AI, but it's not. He cut the hair. You know what that means, though? That means it's a new chapter in Kansas City. It's time to turn the page on what has been for the last 7 or 8 years. And this is symbolic. This is symbolic here. Mahomes cut off the signature hair. which means he is going to what? Go scorched earth next season. That's the only explanation here. Fully expecting a 5,000 yard, 50 touchdown year next season from Patrick Mahomes with the fresh new cut. And that's just all there is to it. Y'all let me know in the chat what y'all think about Patrick Mahomes' new do. Does he look snazzy, or is it too weird for you? We also had this story from Chiefs Wire. The Bears signed former undrafted Chiefs linebacker Swayze Bozeman. Show favorite here. He's been on the show. Mike loves the man. And shout out to Swayze. It's pretty cool that he actually got to be active in the Super Bowl, and then he's now been signed to the Bears. So good luck, Swayze. Hope everything goes great for you, my man. A couple other little things just to talk about. Get some conversation starters. Saw this morning. NFL insiders, Joey Bosa likely to be cut by the Chargers, set to make $25.36 million in 2025. Damn. What are we ever going to do if we don't have to see that giant schnoz twice a season? I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Super depressed about it. But Joey Bosa, he is a good player. Edge rusher, people will be taking a look at him. Wonder where he will end up. I'm sure the rumor mill will go around X and say the Chiefs are going to get him, because every player ever that could possibly be cut or is cut, the Chiefs should get them, according to our fan base sometimes. But let's talk about what we're really here for. Kyle Pitts. This man, Jay Ben, he put out a tweet yesterday on X. And I looked into it, and I think he's just like some sort of a sports writer or something, but nothing crazy. No one like super credible. But he says the Chiefs reached out to Falcons about Pitt's availability. Keep in mind this Jay Ben is a sports writer or something in Atlanta. He says a contingency plan for them if Kelsey retires. Chiefs still believe Pitts has potential to be elite. I know a lot of you guys in the chat were very, very big on Kyle Pitts last season. I know a lot of Chiefs Kingdom was huge on Kyle Pitts. We've seen a lot of talk about it on X, on YouTube, and everything last off season, like trying to make a deal for him. Oh, how can we get better? And maybe those people had a point, because tight end was sort of a sore spot all season long. I think Noah Gray showed us a little bit about what he can do. But Kelsey didn't have his greatest season. Kelsey, on the other hand, did not have a bad season. He still was right near the 1,000-yard mark and was able to have a couple of big games. He just wasn't as impactful as people were, used to as far as production from Travis Kelce. There were several games where he was held to 30 yards or less and just didn't take over any games. Him and Mahomes, the chemistry just seemed a little off this year. Mahomes had a bit of an off year. In turn, Kelce had an off year. They weren't kind of click on the same page. The main thing I noticed from Travis Kelce this past season was that the backyard football was gone. When the play didn't work out, when Travis got to his spot and didn't get the ball immediately, you didn't see that same just working to get open, making things happen. I mean, we saw it in small segments this season, but not like we were used to. And their just chemistry altogether just seemed a little off. And we'll see what Travis Kelce's going to do. He's going to make a decision soon on if he's going to be back or not. But if he isn't, or even if he is, do you guys think that this would be a good target for the Chiefs to go after? They would have to make a trade for him. He's on the last year of his contract. Don't know what they would want for him. He's not exactly panned out the way people thought he was going to. That could be a lot to do with being in Atlanta, in my opinion. Kyle Pitts is a fantastic athlete. I mean, people expected a lot out of this kid, and he has a lot to offer. But he does have his problems. He has a bit of a drop problem at times, and Chiefs fans definitely have a little bit of PTSD after 2 seasons ago with Kadarius Toney and MVS and drops. So that's something to think about. But y'all let me know in the chat what you guys think about Mr. Kyle Pitts. I think it would be a cool addition if you can get him at an affordable price. Not necessarily price, but just you got to make a trade, right? So what can you give up for Pitts? I'd be comfortable with fourth, fifth rounder. Obviously, they're probably going to want more than that. But we'll just have to wait and see. Put a poll up. If you haven't voted on the poll, make sure to do that. It says, would you want the Chiefs to invest in Kyle Pitts? And by investing in Kyle Pitts, I mean making a trade for him, whatever draft picks you have to give up or whoever you have to give up to get Kyle Pitts. And then on top of that, he is going to be due a contract. Do you think he could be that guy for the future? Do you think the next chapter of the Chiefs with, new Mahomes, with a more mature, professional-looking Mahomes, do you think Kyle Pitts could be that guy? So far, we got 77 votes on it. Would like to get more. So if you haven't voted on that, vote on it. But right now, 55% of you say yes, he can reach his full potential. And that's kind of what I wanted to just discuss for a couple of minutes is, can Kyle Pitts reach his full potential in Kansas City? Has he not had the opportunity in Atlanta? Because I feel like he has, but they don't have the most ideal situation. I don't think they were as good this year as people thought. Getting Kirk Cousins, I thought maybe they could roll a little better than they had been on the offensive side of the ball. They have a lot of weapons there as far as receivers go, with Drake London, Darnell Mooney. But they just couldn't really get it going. I mean, they even have Bijan Robinson, a generational running back. So there's other pieces on the offense, but Kyle Pitts just never seemed to really shine. But that could be, by design, by the scheme of the Falcons' offense. So could Kyle Pitts reach his full potential that people thought he was going to be? Because when he got drafted, people thought he was going to be like an all-time great. I mean, he was talked about like he was going to come in, take the league by storm, and do what Travis Kelce does. That obviously didn't happen. But is it still in him? I'm not sure about that. But I do know that this would put him in the best position possible to reach his ceiling. What better place to be as a tight end than starting in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes after you've seen what they've been able to do with Travis Kelce? And obviously Travis Kelce's a different animal. He's a one of a kind, first ballot Hall of Famer, GOAT tight end. Sorry, Gronkomers. Travis Kelce is the GOAT. If anyone's going to argue about being the GOAT other than Travis Kelce, we're going to turn to another Chief tight end. Talk to Mr. Tony Gonzalez. But Gronkowski, you just have to sit in the background. You were good, but not good enough, because Travis Kelce is the GOAT, ladies and gentlemen. A little sad to be talking about this, though, right? I want to know how you guys feel about this, because I really do feel like this could be a huge pivotal offseason for the Chiefs, especially in this dynasty and in the Mahomes era. It sucks that the first chapter has to be closed with an ass whooping in the Super Bowl with record number of viewers. Patrick he had his worst game as a professional. I'll say that. I think I can say that pretty comfortably. Yes, the offensive line failed him, which pretty much was because of a coaching failure. Not necessarily decisions made on who to play, but how they decided to play and run the offense. They definitely didn't give them any help. So just a chain effect of a bunch of crap, and the world got to watch them all just take a beating. And of course, everyone's doing their victory laps, and the Chiefs dynasty is over, and finally, everybody hates them because they're tired of them winning. Everybody hates them because they're popular. They're on commercials. They hate them because Travis Kelce is now with Taylor Swift. They hate them because they show Taylor Swift for 12 seconds each 4-hour football game on television. It's weird because I think that Patrick Mahomes is a really good person. I think that's pretty apparent. I think if you even just pay attention at all, Patrick Mahomes seems like a great person, like genuinely. And I feel like he's super likable. And of course, people try to point to family problems and stuff like that to down him, which is crazy. It's like every family has their problems, but they don't get blasted by TMZ. And I think that people run with that. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes, super likable kid, and just a really good person. It kind of sucks to see him fail on a national stage. You kind of feel for him, especially with the unprecedented, crazy career he's had so far. To this point, the best to ever do it. To this point, the best to ever do it, hands down. Y'all can take that Brady stuff somewhere else if you just want to go by the first few years, the first 7-8 years of a career. And I think I read something yesterday that he's the first athlete. Michael Jordan didn't do it. LeBron didn't do it. Tom Brady didn't do it. But he's been to 5 championships in his career before the age of 30. He's the only one to do it. He stands alone there. So, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. He's the best to ever do it. And he's finally turning the page here. I want to know how you all feel about that. The Chiefs are going to be different. I think this is a pivotal offseason where the Chiefs have a lot of decisions to make. Brett Veach has a lot of decisions to make. Andy Reid has a lot of decisions to make. And I think this Chiefs team could start looking a lot different than what we've sit back, kicked our feet up, and got used to. And now, does that mean that the win column is going to be any different? Does that mean that they're not going to be making a run at the Super Bowl every year? That's yet to be determined. I don't think so. I think the Chiefs are still the team to beat, especially in the AFC. I mean, we start talking about that, and it's like, oh, well, the Chiefs are done. The dynasty over. Well, genuinely, I'd like to know who you think is going to knock them off the throne in the AFC. Is it going to be Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who are 3-5 in the playoffs? Is it going to be the Buffalo Bills? Maybe they can win the 5th time. Maybe, the first 4, it just wasn't their day. But the 5th time is a charm. They'll knock the Chiefs off at the 5th time. The Bengals got their own problems going on. They ain't going to be able to pay everybody. And on top of that, you have to make the playoffs to knock someone out of the playoffs. So, I mean, genuinely, I just would really like to know who people think is going to dethrone the Chiefs and just make it to where their dynasty's over. Because right now they're on a 7 AFC championship game streak. 8 straight division titles. 5 Super Bowls out of the last 6. Is that right? That just seems wild. 3 Super Bowl wins. I mean, there's no indication that this is over. The only indication they would have is like maybe it's not going to be the version of the Chiefs that you've seen with Patrick Mahomes. It's time to do something a little bit different. It's time to take that step. Some bigger pieces being shuffled around. And speaking of that, while you guys are kind of letting me know what you think about how you just feel personally, like to me, it's kind of like a bittersweet kind of thing. Like if the Chiefs turn the page and they start looking a little bit different, like maybe Travis Kelce does decide to retire. Maybe the Chiefs do go get a Kyle Pitts, or maybe the Chiefs don't sign back some of the guys they were using this year in the receiver room. I mean, you're going to get Rashee Rice back and you got Xavier Worthy, but I mean, the rest is kind of up for debate. And I mean, the Chiefs could look a lot different. A lot of people want to see them get an explosive running back. Love Kareem Hunt, love Isaiah Pacheco, but a lot of people think they need some like top tier running back to take some pressure off of Mahomes. Who knows what way they decide to go, but they do have a lot of decisions to make. Here's some notable free agents. Shout out KCSN for the graphic. But you got right guard Trey Smith. That's the big one there. Can the Chiefs pay that man? And will they pay that man? That's yet to be seen. But personally, I think we might have seen the last of Trey Smith in the Chiefs red and gold, because he's going to garner a lot of money. That guard position went crazy last offseason. Market value went way up, and I think he's going to get a massive payday somewhere. Now, if Trey wants to be in Kansas City and they can't afford to give him a decent contract, then maybe they'll talk. But that's going to be a tough one. Guard is not the hardest thing to redraft for. There are some guys in-house that could potentially take over that position. And then you got Nick Bolton, which we've talked about these two a lot, Trey Smith and Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton, our green dot, he's the guy that Spags relies on the defense. I don't know if he'll be here or not. He's going to garner a pretty decent contract, but But Nick Bolton kind of strikes me as like a Chiefs lifer type guy, like a Derek Johnson or something like that, that just is around for a long time. But we'll see. We'll see. That's yet to be determined. And then you also got Justin Reed. Justin Reed was a monster in the Super Bowl. It sucks that it came in a loss, but he had a really good playoff run. And I think Justin Reed doesn't get enough credit for what he's done as a Chief in his contract. Probably took a lot of unwarranted hate sometimes, but Justin Reed's a key piece, honestly. I mean, if you watch the Super Bowl, I mean, he was getting things done, and he's that veteran piece back there in the secondary. And then we got Kareem Hunt, Tershawn Wharton, Charles Omenihu, Hollywood Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins. Quite the list of free agents, I would say. I'd say most of those are not going to be back. I could be completely wrong. After I say that, Brett Veach could go out and sign every damn one of them. But I think it could look a lot different. Could be a lot different. I think that the Chiefs have not a lot, but they have some holes to fill. And I think that starts with the offensive line. That's pretty apparent. That left tackle position, they've got to get that sorted out. Mike and I have briefly talked about it in other live streams, but what do? I mean, they've kind of put themselves in a position. It's not every year that a great left tackle is just floating around and up for grabs. And there's not necessarily one this year. I mean, you got Ronnie Stanley, a couple others, but nothing that just really jumps off the paper at you. It's like, hey, this is a great, left tackle. And there's not in the draft. I've been kind of dipping my toes in the water of the draft. I don't watch a lot of college football, so usually around this time of year is when I start diving into the draft stuff, start watching a lot of tape, because obviously we do a lot of draft coverage here on the channel. So it's time to start digging in and learning these players, watching the tape, seeing what's a good fit for the Chiefs, who are the Chiefs interested in, and that kind of thing. And, just like I said, just barely dipping my toes in the water, but I don't see anything spectacular in the draft as far as the offensive line goes, as far as left tackle goes, I should say. So they're kind of in a weird position. They might have to consider making a trade, but who wants to give up a good left tackle? Nobody. So I don't expect, and I don't think Chiefs Kingdom should expect to have some Trent Williams-esque person over at left tackle next season, because I don't know if that's possible for them to pull off, to have some, top tier left tackle. But what you do need to look for is, are they trying to improve the situation? Because right now, I mean, honestly, we know we finished the season out with Joe Tooney slid over to left tackle. And we know our young guys didn't quite work out, so we'll see. There's definitely some stuff to do. Pop's in the house. Pop's on vacation with Mike, by the way. They're on vacation. They're having a good old time. And old Steve's just at home going to work and stuff. See how they do me. But he says Philly and the Talking Heads can suck it. Absolutely. Absolutely. No one cares about that. Like, to me, it's like, enjoy your win. Enjoy your Super Bowl victory. But honestly, we're like 2 weeks outside of that. It's like, it's time to, enjoy it and move on, go on with your off season. You have bragging rights if it were to come up, if someone comes at you. But there's no reason to go around gloating. But I mean, that's Philadelphia and their fans in a nutshell, right? Just to be annoying. And I think that's what they're going to continue to do. But they can suck it. And it's funny because as a Chiefs fan, and I'm sure you guys have got this a lot too, especially if you don't live in the Kansas City area, but as a Chiefs fan, it's everyone you see that knows that you're a Chiefs fan. Oh, well, how are you feeling about that game? Or sorry about your loss, or something of that nature. And it's like, everyone acts like it's the craziest thing. And it did suck. It was disappointing that that's the effort that got put up and that they got absolutely mopped. But at the same time, it's like, I don't feel that upset about it. I'm sorry, but as a Chiefs fan who dealt with a lot of bad football before the good football, I think that I can accept this, okay? I'm not going to get too mad at there being them losing one Super Bowl of the last three. It's hard to get mad at that one. It's very hard to get mad at that. And it does suck. Don't get me wrong. Still sucks a little bit, but it is what it is. And we'll move on, and we'll be better, and more. Change is coming. And like, as much as that kind of sucks, because we love what we've had, it's also kind of exciting. So, and we have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So I think, don't you feel safe with some change as long as you have that? Chris Jones is still going to be around. Even if Travis Kelce retires, I mean, it's still, we got the best of the best at the quarterback position and head coach. So not fretting it here. It'll be all right. Let's see what you guys are up to in the chat here. Florida KC fan says you guys had to do a show on the top 5 worst fan bases. I guarantee you Philadelphia would end up number 1. And, I kind of wonder about that. We've talked about this kind of thing before. Didn't actually have a show about it, but we've talked about it. And usually the worst fan bases always ends up being like the Broncos or Raiders, of course. But in recent years, the Bengals fans have came in and taken that title. It's like, and I feel like they're still pretty high up there because they still try to act like they're relevant, and they still try to act like they're great, and they have something on the Chiefs, which is weird. They beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game like 4 years ago now, and since then they've done squat. They can't even make the playoffs, and it's like, you're not relevant. But they love to be out there and act like they're the greatest, and talk a lot of trash. So I mean, they're up there. But you're right. Philly fans, I never really paid much attention to them, to be honest. Like, you always hear, the chatter about Philly fans being stupid and racist and this and that, right? And you kind of just let that stuff slide because everybody says that about everybody these days. If you don't like them, they're racist. If this or that, they hate women. I don't know. They'll come up with something. And you always hear that, but I've kind of just always kind of brushed it off. But now that I'm actually seeing it firsthand, like different videos, like after the Commanders game, and then the way they've acted after the Super Bowl, I think that they are pretty like, let me start with this. I'm sure the majority of Eagles fans are fine people. But I feel like as a whole, that fan base, the percentage of trash is much higher than the average NFL team. Let's just put it that way. Pretty low class people we're talking about. And it starts in the locker room with their head coach. What's that guy's name again? Gardner Johnson. That guy's a loser. I mean, there's very classless people in the organization. I think it trickles down into the fan base. Not that I'm saying these Philly people were great people before they had these morons in there, but they don't help. So pretty classless organization they got going on there. And I hate to say that because I do feel like a majority of probably the players, like I feel like Saquon Barkley had been respectful anytime he's asked about the Chiefs, or even like situations like Taylor Swift. He was respectful about that. And it's like, I think there are some good players there and some good fans there, but there's just a large amount of classless ones too. So I'm with you. I think they might be up near the top of the list. Bills fans are pretty damn annoying too. Let's just put it that way. For someone that gets absolutely spanked by their daddy every year in the playoffs, they just can't seem to shut up. They actually, one of their talking heads had a video he put out on X maybe yesterday or the day before about how the Chiefs are broke and nobody's talking about it, and they're done. It's over. It's like, who's going to tell this guy? Who's going to tell this guy how this is going to go? Because, I mean, just in so many words, without getting too far into it, Patrick Mahomes is going to restructure. Somebody else might restructure. They're going to sign back some key pieces. They're going to gain some key pieces. And the Chiefs are going to draft well. And the Chiefs are going to do what they do next year. They're not going anywhere. I'm sorry to burst anybody's bubble, especially you, Mr. Sad, salty, and sensitive Bills fan. But the Chiefs aren't going nowhere. They're not going to move over and, give Josh Allen a free ride to the Super Bowl because that's what it's going to take for him to get there. But I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Nikki says they're not broke. They can free up $80 million if they want to. You have to remember, Nikki, a lot of the people in these fan bases, and unfortunately a lot of people in our fan base, they're not the most knowledgeable people when it comes to football in general or how it works. It's not just the game itself and the rules of the game and how the game works and different strategies and different schemes. It's not that they don't know that or the rules even, but they definitely don't know how it works in the offseason, how things go. So, I mean, there's a large subset of people out there that just have no freaking clue. So they'll go with any little story they can get a reaction. And I think that's what they were doing there. Julia Gulia says, anybody heard anything about how long Rice's suspension will be? And it's been super quiet about Rashee Rice since he went out with a knee injury, and understandably, life moves on. But this was like a big talking point last offseason, early in the season, was Rice, the off the field stuff and the suspension. I think he will get a suspension this year. But I don't think it's going to be what people are expecting. I think a lot of people think that they're going to put the hammer down and give him 8-game suspension or something like that. And, they could potentially, but I just don't think there's enough there. It's still got to get done in court. We'll see what he gets actually charged with, what charges stick. And then I think it's up to the NFL to see what they want to do about that. But they've definitely let other people with worse offenses off with a lot less of a suspension. So I would expect at most to see about a 4-game thing. That'd be where I'm at with it. Shout out Bryant Williamson with the 5-bomb. Hear ye, Bryant. He says, showing love. Glad you're on right now. Shit getting depressing, but I'll be all right. Have faith like the old days. Love you, ACU crew. Go Chiefs. It can be a little depressing when your season ends that way. And it can be a little depressing when you kind of see the team that you love start to morph a little bit, right? And that's the thing about it. It's still going to be ultimately the same. I think it's going to have the same feel, but it's going to be tweaked a little bit, especially if Kelsey were to decide to retire and they were to move on to a bigger piece at tight end. Like this rumor that was going around X about Kyle Pitts. And I know that excites a lot of people because it's new, it's fresh and exciting. It's 24 years old, man. He's 24 years old and had, a ceiling higher than you can see, but he just hasn't been able to hit it. And a lot of people think that he could in Kansas City. But you see your team start to morph a little bit. And I think you'll see it this offseason. There's just a lot on the table as far as contracts go and what Brett Veach has to get done. And then whatever direction he decides to go in the draft and things like that. So it'll be fun. I think you have to look at it through more of an optimistic lens, Bryant. It's like stuff changes, life changes, and you just kind of got to roll with the punches. You got to try to be excited about it, of what could come. And personally, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't know what's going to happen yet. For all I know, we could look like the exact same Chiefs team next year. Travis Kelce could stay. Brett Veach could figure out how to sign back a majority of these guys, and it'd be the same kind of feel. But almost after the way they went out this season in the Super Bowl, I almost feel like it needs to change. I feel like maybe that they've hit this point. I mean, I've seen a lot of stories where the Chiefs had genuine Super Bowl fatigue. And one of the coaches said, yeah, they had Super Bowl fatigue. They were all just tired of playing the Super Bowl. I call bullshit on that. I do. And maybe that coach or whoever he is, maybe him, but I just don't think Patrick Mahomes has something called Super Bowl. I don't think he would ever not want to play in a Super Bowl. And now if you want to twist it a little bit, could they have been tired? They've played an extra season as opposed to a lot of other teams in the last 3 years. Sure, we could talk about that. Maybe they were worn out. Maybe, there's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But that's no excuse for going in on the world's biggest stage with a record amount of viewers and pulling your pants down and taking an absolute dump at the 50-yard line. There was no reason for that. So, yeah, maybe it is time. Like, you've seen the energy off. Like, a lot of people have been talking about how the effort was poor and they didn't look like they were that upset about it on the sidelines. There just wasn't no fire there, no energy, effort. maybe it is time to turn the page a little bit. So look at it in a positive light. Appreciate the 5, Bryant, and appreciate the 2, my man. Got to get to hear you, and you told me that could be why they lost the Super Bowl. So now I have to make sure I get that in every time I can. And yeah, Julia, this is me. Just tired of playing in the Super Bowl. I don't want to be in the Super Bowl. Like, that just seems crazy to me. I think they found some old tired coach that's just a slapnut of sorts. It has to be it. I don't think the players are tired of winning. I just don't think that's a thing. Sorry. Let's see here. What's up, Flip? He says, so true, Steve. We sure do have some fans who think they know football after watching it just as long as Mahomes has been in the league. And that's the thing. Like, there's a lot more casual fans now than ever. I mean, and that reflects with just the Super Bowl viewers. But, I mean, there are a lot of new Chiefs fans. Obviously, when you get a player like Patrick Mahomes, you get someone with the popularity of Travis Kelce. You got the Swifties now. There's a lot of people that are new to the game, and that's fine. And it's fine if you don't know everything. You'll learn it. If you really care, if you stick around long enough, you'll learn it, and that's okay. But I think, like, Flip, they're not even the ones that bother me. The people that bother me are the ones that claim to be football fans, and they are into this stuff year in, year out. And you'll see it a lot with the other fan bases, with Bills fans and things like that. But it's like, let's please not try to talk in depth on football. Don't make an entire X account dedicated to the NFL or football or whatever, and you don't even know the rules. Don't even know the rules. And it just blows my mind. It's like, if you want to have valid opinions and you want to talk about the sport, and you want to talk about this and that, at least come at me with a little bit. And I'm not saying you need to know a lot. I mean, I don't know everything. But you got to come at me with a little bit of something. Don't come at me and tell me things that are just completely not true. We got to use facts, at least. You have to at least kind of know what you're talking about. Brian Parrott says, how pissed is D-Hop? I think D-Hop has to be pretty disappointed. I don't know if he's pissed per se, but I think he's probably super disappointed. And it's kind of, it goes two ways for me, I guess, Brian. But it's like, can he be a little disappointed? Yeah, it sucks. But at the same time, you can't be too pissed off that you came in halfway through a season and tried to ride a team's coattails to a Super Bowl, man, and get yourself a ring. And I'm not saying that's exactly what he did, but I mean, he was traded to us, so it's not like he did it on purpose. And I think he tried to take advantage of his situation, and rightfully so. I mean, if anybody deserves a ring, I think it's that man. He's been one of the top receivers to ever do it, and he's been at a high level for years now. Seems like a good guy. And he says he's not done. He had the tweet out on X that said, he's not done. So he's going to want to play. We'll see if he ends up back with the Chiefs. If he is back with the Chiefs, I hope to see them utilize him a little bit differently than they did this season. And I know that they weren't expecting it, and I know they had to tweak some things here and there, but I do feel like there was a lot of opportunity missed having that caliber of a receiver on the field, and just him getting the amount of snaps and the amount of targets that he got. And I think you saw it in the Super Bowl. There was the one play where he tripped and dropped could have been a touchdown pass, And we saw like one other drop from D-Hop this year. And it's weird, because he don't drop the ball. So when it happens, it's just like mind blowing, especially in the Super Bowl. Wasn't the greatest throw. But it was definitely catchable, and he kind of stumbled. But if you set that aside, I think you saw what D-Hop can do. If you just throw him the ball, if they're in man coverage and you just throw the ball to D-Hop, he's going to catch it 90% of the time. He's gonna do that, and I would like to see them utilize him more if he is back, and especially in the red zone and moving the chains and things like that. He might not be at the level he was. He might not be super explosive, and you're going to get these crazy plays out of him like you see with Xavier Worthy and the younger guys. But with D-Hop, I definitely feel like he could give you that guy that just moves the chains and is reliable. Like, hey, they're in man coverage. Let me throw it and give them a chance to make a play. And I think he comes up with that for you majority of the time. So it'll be interesting to see if they decide to have him back And it also is going to depend on money, how much they want, how much they can spend. Y'all know the song and dance, so it'll be fun to see how this all goes. I mean, a lot of weapons the Chiefs had this year in the wide receiver room, and granted, it seems like they should have been able to do so much more with that, but it was also kind of pieced together a little bit throughout the year, and you had all the injuries and everything. So, as much as I reflect back on this last season, I mean, it's very hard to be upset at 15-2 and losing in the Super Bowl, but at the same time, it's super disappointing. But then you start really reflecting on it. You look into it, and it's like the injuries that mounted up, the off-field stuff, and just a lot to overcome there. Mahomes was kind of off all season. Kelsey's getting older. There's just a lot going on this year, and the fact that they were able to maintain and be 15-2 and be in the Super Bowl again, pretty damn impressive. So, I can be disappointed about the Super Bowl not winning it and getting mopped. I can be disappointed about that, but I can also acknowledge that they potentially overachieved this last season with all of the roadblocks they had. So it's something to be proud of. Boy, Kyle been a member for 17 months now, probably longer. YouTube's a slap nut. It says a free milestone chat. Just enjoying a bit of iced tea on the balcony, looking at the blue waters of Grand Turk and hanging out with the ACU fam. That sounds nice, man. Everybody's just chilling besides me. That's what I'm starting to figure out. Maybe it's my turn to take a vacation next week. Mike's going to have to hold it down, and I'm going to take a vacation. Don't tell anybody. I'll just sneak off. If anybody wants to babysit a herd of children, send me an email. I'll go on a vacation. I hope you're having a good time, though, Kyle. But yeah, it's cool just to hang out and kind of get this is another one of those videos where it's like we're reflecting a little bit on the last season, kind of getting past all that. But I think it's more about the future now. It's about turning the page. That's why I brought up the Patrick Mahomes haircut, and I think it's symbolic. And obviously it was probably just because he went to his grandfather's funeral, and it was just that time. He'd been talking about it anyway. But I do feel like it kind of is a symbolic thing. Like it is time for the Chiefs to turn the page a little bit and hit that next phase of their dynasty, hit that next chapter of Patrick Mahomes' career. And with that comes the rumors and the offseason starting to heat up. So the first big one is Kyle Pitts to the Chiefs. And I think the only reason why people are running with it is because, A, that's a big target that a lot of the fans wanted to hit up last year. They're like, man, Kyle Pitts. I don't remember who started the chatter last year. Could have been our boy Lance from the Spoken. I know he's big on him. But somebody brought it up last season, and a lot of people ran with it, and that was something they wanted to see. And, of course, that didn't come to fruition. Then you come to this season. Now you see Kelsey kind of, getting a little older, maybe looking at retirement, and that seems like one to revisit. And then you have a sports writer from Atlanta saying that Chiefs have shown interest and have reached out about Kyle Pitts. So, of course, everybody got a little crazy with it yesterday. And personally, I'm okay with it. If that's really true, if that's what the Chiefs decided to do, if that's what Brett Veach decided to do, is to go take a look at Kyle Pitts and see if they can't get him to try to spark the offense a little bit, get back some of that little tight end connection that Mahomes loves so well, then sure. I'm not opposed to it. I do think the guy has a lot more to offer than what he's been able to accomplish in Atlanta. And I think that this would be the type of place for him. Because, I mean, let's get this straight. Kyle Pitts, not the greatest blocker. And that's what everybody said about Travis Kelce. And a lot of it's BS. I think Travis Kelce was a fine blocker throughout his career. And then you have games like the Super Bowl where it was just non-existent. And I think people like to put that one out there a lot to prove their point that he's a terrible blocker. But that's not necessarily true. But Kyle Pitts, not the greatest blocker. He's a big wide receiver, right? Just like everybody says Travis Kelce is. So I do feel like that's a piece they could use. And they still have Noah Gray, who I think has got a lot to offer, who I think is better than a lot of people think. I've been saying that for years, and I think everybody got a little taste of that this season early on. It seemed like they kind of went away from that towards the end of the season. I don't know if that was preserving Kelce a little bit at first and then trying to let him loose a little bit at the end, so you saw a little bit less Noah Gray. That's possibility. But I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. And back to our poll. We actually have, let's see, about 170 of you voted now. It says 52% said they would definitely invest in Kyle Pitts. 52%. So large number. It says he can reach his full potential with the Chiefs. I kind of agree with that too. I think if he can reach his full potential in the NFL, this would be the ideal situation. He's probably at home, praying that this is true and the Chiefs try to get him, to be quite honest. If he wants to get out of Atlanta and have a chance at achieving what he was set out to do or what people thought he could do in the league, this would be the move that needed to be made for him. Only 18% say he's a bust, and 30% don't care either way. So I think 30% of people are indifferent about it. Whether it's they're indifferent about Kyle Pitts or that decision, or they're still just, a little depressed about football. I don't know. That could be it too. Oh, Pop. Still hanging out. Everybody's on vacation just watching me. Pops for the 10 bomb says, do you like Mahomes' new hairstyle? So we talked about the hairstyle a little bit, but let's strip it down to what it is and just talk about the hairstyle itself and how it looks. Not any extra added into it, but how does he look with it? And I'll say I like it. I have to go with I like it. I do think Mahomes goes to a white barber though. I think I'm getting that vibe because it's kind of it's a bit of a, I don't want to say dorky or nerdy haircut. It's not that, but he looks more like, he don't look as wild, He doesn't look as carefree. He looks more business. Mahomes is getting very businessy, and that's okay. He's a grown man now. He's got 3 children. I think once you have 3 kids, that's the limit on how long you can have a mohawk. Just my opinion. I think that's where it stops. So he's just looking a little more put together, and I think it's going to be a good year for Mahomes. I think he's got a lot to reflect on this offseason. Obviously, the hair thing's just funny. It's just hair. All we know by the time the season comes around that he could have the damn mohawk back, We never know. But I like it. He already wears a lot of suits, He's just trying to look. He's trying to keep it classy while Philly fans are keeping it classless. He's taking the high road here. He's going to get himself cleaned up and get out there and get himself a better job. And I don't mean that as going somewhere else, but he's going to do a better job. How about that? Anybody have any more targets in free agency? Anybody have any ideas? I know everybody always has their favorites, their targets they want to go after. I haven't seen a whole lot in the chat, but then again, it's hard to look at the chat as much when I'm by myself. I can't let Mike just do all the work and me scroll through the chat like usual. But kind of wonder if there's any more targets. Ray Mike's on vacation. K Wayne likes Michael Mayer. That is a good one, actually. It's so weird that the Raiders decided to draft a tight end in the first round like 2 years in a row. Kind of weird. I feel like Michael Mayer didn't get a shot, and they went and got Brock Bowers. And you know what? Sounds crazy and stupid, but at the same time, I feel like Brock Bowers kind of proved why they did that. Like, it doesn't matter that they just drafted one. He was still that guy they needed to get, right? He's going to be a beast, and he was a beast. But yes, Michael Mayer would be a good one. I just don't know. You know how it goes with the Raiders and the Chiefs. He was an intriguing prospect anyway, coming out of college. It was him and Dalton Kincaid and a couple other guys that were really good. And people thought that the Chiefs were going to go tight end that draft, and they didn't do it. Got a 5 bomb from Hannah. What's up, Hannah? She says, need Clark Hunt to be less stingy with cash on top of cap this year to permanently fix O-line issues. Can't do another season of let's see how this left tackle works out. 110%, Hannah. It's got to the point now to where, from just the average person's point of view, you've lost 2 Super Bowls now because you have not been serious about the O-line. And is that fair? Not all the way, because I think the O-line was fine uh, during Super Bowl 55. Is that what it was? Against Tampa Bay. Up until that point, they dealt with injuries, and then all of a sudden it was a busted up offensive line. So maybe that's a little unfair to say they've kind of neglected, but they came back and he really hit the offensive line that offseason. But I think just continuously like ignoring the left tackle, or it's not even ignoring the left tackle, but maybe it's like downplaying the importance of a left tackle. How about that? I think that's something they're guilty of. They kept thinking they could get this guy and convert him to a left tackle. They can get that guy and convert him to a left tackle. Oh, we can just take a young guy, a rookie, and stick him in there at left tackle. And, that might be true at a lot of different spots on the offensive line, but not at left tackle. That's where you need somebody with some experience, somebody that is just an absolute force. You need Patrick Mahomes as comfortable as he can possibly be, and you need to protect the most valuable asset in the NFL. So you got to protect his blind side. I think they did not take it serious enough. And there's no way they can go another entire offseason and not address that in a big way. I think they have to do their due diligence there and address that in a big way. Daddy Bar said, did y'all mention T. Higgins? I have not. I did see where his mom posted on X and said that people were greedy. I don't remember exactly how she worded it, but it was something derogatory. Greedy bastards or something like that. I can't remember. And of course, everybody's like, oh, she's talking about the Bengals and franchise tag and this and that. And she's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. But it probably was. Let's be honest here. And the thing with the Bengals is, like, they can't keep paying all those guys. Like, something's got to change. I mean, they can do the Eagles thing and kind of like what Hannah was alluding to with Clark Hunt, just doing more cash stuff. They can try, I guess. But I don't think T. Higgins is happy there. T. Higgins as a Chief, though, I don't know. I'm not opposed to the idea, but then again, with the money that he's going to cost, he's going to be $25 million per probably, which is absurd. We didn't even pay Tyreek Hill that. So why pay T. Higgins that? Don't see it happening. And then, on top of that, it's just, what would T. Higgins be like in a Chiefs offense? I mean, we've seen D-Hop now. I know he's older. It's different. I get that. But D-Hop's still a dominant wide receiver, one of the best to ever do it. And you saw how much he was utilized in our offense. And Mike's pointed out over the years that, those big type receivers do not get used by this Chiefs offense. They just don't. I mean, do you know there's people still on the Justin Ross train? I actually saw somebody talking on X about how, why would we ever go out and look at a receiver when we have the answer in house and with a picture of Justin Ross? Guys, I think 2 or 3 off seasons of that is enough. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it. Stop. We're not doing that this off season. Justin Ross ain't it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Give it up. Give it up. I'd love to see Hollywood Brown back. I do think that they might look into that. It sucks that he didn't get to play very long, but I do think he was a good spark to the offense. We definitely saw the offense start to click a little better once Hollywood got back from injury, so definitely something to consider there. Hannah with another 5 bomb says, if y'all think the Chiefs would pay $30 million to a receiver, I have a bridge to sell you. And that's true. I'm right there with you, Hannah. Appreciate the support, by the way. Y'all put some legendaries in chat for Hannah. But I just don't see that happening. The Chiefs aren't paying T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is one of them that you can kind of write off to. I know that we went through an entire season of having the worst wide receiver room in football, potentially. The year with Kadarius Toney's dropping everything and starting his breakdown. MVS was our number 1 receiver and just not good, We had to rely on Justin Watson like he was, some huge piece. Had a bad wide receiver room, so we know what that's like, and people's kind of been focused on wide receiver position since then. It's been always a big talk in free agency since then. Got to get this guy, got to get that guy. Well, this last season, I should say, with drafting Xavier Worthy, who turned out to be that guy. He's going to be good. He's going to be good. We had Rashee Rice. Of course, he got hurt. But you also had Hollywood Brown. Of course, got hurt. They went and got D-Hop in a trade. They went and signed Juju Smith-Schuster back, who I understand he's not what he was when he was a lot younger, but he's still a decent receiver at times. He can definitely contribute. But they had a lot of weapons in the wide receiver room, to be honest. I mean, even with Rashee Rice out in the Super Bowl, I think that the Chiefs wide receiver room is pretty good. I mean, they have some pretty good wide receiver room. So knowing that they had a wide receiver room where Juju Smith-Schuster was your WR4, I don't know if I would focus so much on wide receiver being a big thing in the offseason. Like, does it really matter who they have as wide receiver? Because we won a Super Bowl with potentially the worst wide receiver room in football, lost in the Super Bowl badly with a really good one. So it really just depends, I suppose, on how that all breaks down and what you want. I think a lot of people would love to see something like a T. Higgins. Me personally, I don't feel like it's necessary. I don't feel like they would ever pay him. Just don't see it. I'm not saying it's impossible because Brett Veach has done crazier stuff, but I don't see it. Shout out real quick to everybody for being here this morning. Appreciate you. Of course, it's a little slower without Mike. Probably get tired of hearing me talk. Sorry, you got to deal with it. But appreciate you all being here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already. If you're watching on X, make sure to repost that out to your followers. If you're watching on Facebook, like it and share it with your friends and family. Get the word of All Chiefed Up out. Got to keep growing this bad boy. The ACU crew, you guys have been incredible since the start of it. We're going to be going on season 3. We'll be on season 3. And it's pretty cool what this has grown to. I know we talk about it every once in a while, but I just want to throw that out there. Appreciate you guys genuinely for all the support, all the watching, all the liking, all the sharing with your friends. But I just wanted to say, keep doing that. Keep sharing it out with other Chiefs fans. I think there's a big a big part of Chiefs Kingdom that has no idea who the hell we are, and I think that we could definitely reach a lot more people. It's a good place to be. It's a good place to hang out and talk Chiefs football. Everybody in the chat's freaking amazing. And, yeah, tell a friend. Help us grow this bad boy. Getting on up there. We're at like 42,000 subscribers now. I like to hit that 50 mark sooner than later. Had the goal to hit it before the Super Bowl. That didn't happen, but, we put up a valiant effort. Let's see here. We got a 5-bomb from our boy Chief DeLorean. He says, what do you think of Alaric Jackson or Ronnie Stanley at left tackle? I think right now those are your two best options as far as free agency goes. They're definitely the top two. Do I think that either of those guys are like the long-term answer? Probably not. But maybe. Maybe Ronnie Stanley. I don't know how old Ronnie Stanley is. I feel like he's been around a minute. Or is he just one of those people that seem like he's been around for a while? He's 30, yeah. He's 30. Yeah, we could probably get a good 4 years out of him, maybe. Something like that. I'd feel comfortable with 3 or 4 years. And then Jackson, he's a little younger guy. He's 26. I think that's the thing. I don't know if either of them's the answer, and I don't know if either of them's the long-term answer. But I do think that both of those guys are an improvement over what we have, and that's all you can really ask for. Like, yeah, everybody's going to want to hit a home run on this left tackle thing because they're tired of talking about it, and they're tired of the Chiefs not exactly addressing it. So if they do go get Jackson or they do go get Stanley, I think you can look at it one of two ways. Either they're doing it because they feel like they must do that to appease the masses and show that they're really serious about this left tackle position, or they are legitimately serious about doing the best they can, because I do think those are the best two options for free agency. I haven't got to dig too far into the draft, but so far, the few that I have checked out at left tackle, it's not like you got any Joe Alts out there. So I think those two, Chief DeLorean, is probably something to talk about. Okay, Wayne says Cam Robinson at left tackle. I've seen a few people bring that one up. I'm not opposed to that one either. He's not 30 yet, I don't think. So he's still got some juice left in the tank. Once again, an upgrade from what we have at left tackle. So I think anything that the Chiefs put into left tackle position, I think that we have to be happy about, to be quite honest. Hannah with the 2 bombs says Andy bitching Kingsley killed his confidence. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I definitely think that's a possibility. And I wouldn't be too afraid to say that. Kingsley got thrown into the fire. Kingsley went against who I think maybe should have won Defensive Player of the Year this year with Trey Hendrickson in his second NFL game. And he got his ass handed to him. So what are you going to do? You're going to bench the entire team now after the Super Bowl? Is that what we're going to do? But in all seriousness, I do think it did kind of hurt his confidence. But I don't think that they can give up on him yet, and I don't think they have. But that's something mental for him to work out. It does kind of suck, getting drafted, going in, getting that starting position, and then them pulling you out the minute that you have a little bit of trouble. So, yeah, I do think that could have hurt his confidence a little bit. But I think he'll be fine. I do think he'll be fine. He might not even be a tackle. I don't know. They could kick him inside at guard. Who knows? But I do think Kingsley will be fine. And the reason why I say that is he's young, A. B, it wasn't that Kingsley was really drafted on being the greatest offensive lineman. That's not why he was drafted. He was drafted for potential, which is what a lot of people are drafted for these days. And Kingsley, he was one of the biggest athletic freaks in this draft. Kingsley is one of the most athletic offensive linemen that we've seen in a long time. He's got a lot of tools. So now it's how do you tweak those? How do you develop him? A lot of people have been down on Andy Heck and developing offensive linemen. So we'll see how that goes. But I've not given up on Kingsley. I think he's going to be just fine. To be quite honest about it. But I do think the way that went down, and I don't think Andy did that intentionally, by the way. I think what happened was Kingsley ended up winning that left tackle position because Wanye was dealing with the knee injury. So Kingsley got it that way. And then, they knew, or they saw what they already knew, that Kingsley wasn't exactly ready for that. And he got schooled by Trey Hendrickson. And then it was like, you know what, let's pull him out. And it could have been the other way around. Maybe let's pull him out so he doesn't get his confidence absolutely crushed that he's not good enough to do this because he's getting his ass whooped by Defensive Player of the Year. Maybe that's why they did it. Maybe they were trying to preserve him, his confidence. But it could have gone both ways. It just sucks that it had to go that way. And I think that's the point, is that they've really got to focus on left tackle to make sure they don't end up in these types of positions. But can't wait to dig into the draft and see what the options are there. But back to Chief DeLorean, I think Jackson and Stanley's probably like the obvious targets, and Cam Robinson, even K. Wayne. I think that's who they're going to be trying to look at if they were to go the free agency route. And I think they have to do something to show that they're serious at that position after what happened in the Super Bowl. And, it's they kind of dug their own grave with that one. A, by letting it go too far. B, by, trying to piece together the offensive line at the last minute because of your failures. And C, I think the horrible game plan, the absolute horrible game plan that they had in the Super Bowl that allowed that to be exposed is what really got you in this position. So, I mean, it's kind of self-inflicted. So they've got to make a move there. Flip with the 10 bomb says, any inputs on the draftees this offseason? Who looks promising? We need to hit it in the mid rounds, late rounds. I don't follow college, so I have no idea. I hear it's a solid defensive line class. Flip, you and me both, brother. I don't watch a lot of college football. Every once in a while, I'll catch a Kentucky game or something. But I don't really follow college football that much. So I'm digging into the draft here soon, and I do that every year. Usually right after the Super Bowl, take a bit of a breather as much as you can, kind of reevaluate, reflect a little bit, and then I start digging into the draft class. And that's what I'm about to do. So off the top of my head, I'm right there with you, Flip. I don't have anybody in mind that I think is a great target. I know a lot of people stay in this stuff year round, but I don't. I do know that they do need to hit in this draft pretty well with the way that the free agency's looking. I think they got to hit some pieces there. As far as the draft picks themselves go, it's not like they have a buku of draft picks. I know they've got that extra pick from the Titans for L'Jarius Sneed. Trying to think. Let me see what they got. If I can find it. They don't have a buku draft picks, but I think you'll see Brett Veach making moves too. He does it every year. If he can gain draft capital, he'll do it. That way he can move around in the draft. He likes to be able to use that to move up and down the boards and kind of do what he wants and get the players he wants. But yeah, you can go look at the list. I don't know why I couldn't find it on a simple Google search, but you can go look at the list of draft picks that the Chiefs have. It's not a buku of them, so we'll see what Brett Veach decides to do. I'll get back to you on that one though, Flip. We'll be doing a lot of draft content coming up here soon, so I'm gonna start digging in probably early next week into the draft and start watching a lot of tape. I've dabbled in it a bit to this point. Haven't seen anybody that really jumps off the tape to me yet. Nobody's screaming, "Hey, I'm a Chief" yet. So it's kind of where I'm at. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the 10, my man. You guys, appreciate you all being here. Do me a favor, hit that like button on the way out if you haven't already. Stick around, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're going to have a good off season here. We're going to be covering a lot of drafts, a lot of free agency. We'll get into camp and everything else. Have the daily Chiefs show, a morning Chiefs show, I should say, 3 times a week. Maybe expand that, but hit that subscribe button, hang out with us, and do all that. Shout out BetUS for powering the live stream. You guys are amazing. Go check them out, betus.com, get in the description, and check it out. And I appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time. Go Chiefs. There goes a sight from my soul.